Dean, if you
Go
show
ahead.
up at someone's, if you said on Fox that you'd be that you would, if they sent you in, you'd be happy to jump out of a truck and go apprehend people. So if you show up at the door of someone's home as an ICE agent, which you're an ICE agent now, do you know what rights they have?
I'm not an ICE agent yet.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
I
so
have
you
not
are
been
an
sworn in.
untrained former actor. If you show up to someone's house as an ICE agent, do you know what rights they have? Do you
They
know?
have all the due process rights of anybody in this country.
Okay. So do you need a warrant signed by a judge to apprehend somebody?
This is ridiculous.
Tim Miller is on with Piers Morgan, and Dean Cain's there too. They're about to go at it over ICE raids, and trust me, you can already feel it's not going to stay calm. Tim Miller ends up shutting both of them down. Let's watch how it happens.
Can I please respond to that?
Dean Cain, I'll let you respond. I mean, the question I would have for you is, I think what's happened on the southern border is borderline, pun intended, miraculous. To go from millions of people in the Biden 4 years coming over every year illegally on the border to basically just a few thousand now, almost eliminating it completely, is a huge success for the Trump administration in a very short period of time. Big tick. I think that most Americans I've talked to are unanimous that they have no problem with undocumented people in the United States being deported if they commit a crime. Okay, so we can all agree on those things. But where I have a big problem with the further strategy of ICE, this just seems something so un-American about ICE going into places like Home Depot and grabbing people who may have been in the country for 10 years, who may have been contributing their taxes through gainful employment, contributing to society, maybe have kids that have been born in the United States. Grabbing those people and throwing them out of the country seems to be quite un-American to me for the reasons Tim articulated. And most of the polling I've seen suggests that at least 2/3, maybe more, of Americans agree that they think that's a step too far. How do you feel about that? I mean, are you comfortable with Home Depot being raided by ICE and people like that who've not committed crimes other than being in the country undocumented, being deported?
Well, let me ask you this question, Piers. What if you did that as a citizen in Europe? If I went to Europe and I stayed there and I was there for 20 years and I was undocumented, what would happen to me? I've had a home in Spain for 25 years.
My response to that would be that
I follow the immigration laws in Spain. I get stopped. Yeah, I get stopped if I stay longer than 60 days in a 180-day period. All kinds of issues happen, and that happens in every single country. But let me get back to something real quick that Tim said, and I'll address that. The United States is the most immigrant-friendly, by far, country on this planet. We have over 50 million immigrants. Tim, just look at the numbers. More than the next 4 countries combined. We also let in 1 million people legally every single year. I don't think we really disagree that much. I'm sorry if you said something, I couldn't hear it.
I'm just saying not anymore. That's not what we're doing now under Donald Trump. I'm glad you like the immigrants are welcomed here, but right now we're going to have negative net migration. Negative.
Well, you're predicting something that isn't quite there. You know, I'm sorry. I don't know if I was talking over you. I apologize.
No, continue.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Will we have negative net migration? Well, it depends. If you're gonna, negative compared to last year under the Biden administration, or what our immigration system, and I think we can both agree on this, is broken, and Congress needs to write laws to fix it. We want immigrants here in the United States, but we don't want people to be here illegal, and we don't want people crossing the border completely unvetted. And that's the big issue that was going on for the last 4 years.
But Dean, let me ask you, where do you draw the line?
Well, that's not for me to make that policy. That's up to Director Lyons and Congress. I mean, these are things that Congress should be dealing with, and they should make those laws, and then our ICE agents will dutifully perform those duties. I mean, they'll take care of whatever the law.
But you must have an opinion. You must have an opinion where that line should be drawn, because we all agree that the southern border being closed is a good thing. We all three of us agree that people who commit crimes when they're in the country undocumented, crimes that are not related to their immigration status, that they should be deported. So we've got broad agreement on those two big planks of the policy. The issue that Tim and I have is that we do not believe that just going into Home Depot and grabbing anyone who's undocumented is a particularly American thing to do, particularly if they've been in the country for a long period of time and built lives in America and are contributing to society and paying taxes and so on. So my question before I go back to Tim is simply, if you were helping them reframe the law, where would you draw the line in terms of who you would allow to stay and who you would deport?
Well, it sounds like you agree on policy but disagree on tactics. On tactics and the way they're doing it. The way they're rolling in. Usually... No, I don't, because I don't agree with deporting everyone who's in the country undocumented. Do you? Everyone who's in the country undocumented? Well, that is not my decision to make, but I know that if you...
All right, here's the key moment. Piers Morgan asks Dean Cain the most basic question. Do you support deporting everyone who's undocumented? That's it. Yes or no? And Dean Cain won't answer. He hides behind, that's not my decision to make. Come on, that's not serious. If Dean Cain says yes, he's calling for mass deportations, families broken apart. If he says no, he upsets the MAGA base. So instead, he pretends it's not up to him. But here's the thing. Not answering is still an answer. Dean Cain is showing he doesn't want to take a stand. And the wild part, even Piers Morgan, of all people, sounds more reasonable in this moment than Dean Cain. That tells you everything.
In any other country,
but what's your opinion?
My opinion is if you're here illegally,
what's your opinion, Dean?
I'm trying to give it to you. If you're here illegally, you should have gone through steps to legalize your status. And there's been countless opportunities to do that. There has been tons and tons of opportunities to do that. And you broke the law when you came here. It's the same as in any other country. You've got to find a way to legalize yourself or self-deport, or else ICE will come and they will deport you.
Okay, Timothy, your response to that?
And this is crazy. What he's saying, and I disagree with the tactics and the policy. The tactics have been, again, brutal. I think that Dean Cain wants to turn the country into something that looks more like an authoritarian country. We have negative people coming in, people going out. We have people in masks. Look, Dean was on Fox the other night, and Jesse Waters asked him, "Will you hop out of ICE vans and start apprehending guys?" And Dean said he'd be willing to do that. This is crazy. This is not a TV show. Like, this is real life. The idea that somebody who is not trained would join ICE and join these guys that are putting on masks and jumping out of U-Hauls at a Home Depot and nabbing people, it's a horrible policy. It is un-American. It is not how we should treat people. It does not show a respect for individual rights in a free country. And the policy itself of deporting these people of deporting everybody that is here undocumented is a crazy policy. It would crush the economy. Donald Trump's even backtracking on this policy because his friends in the ag industry have called him and said, you can't deport our ag workers. And then on top of that, not only is the policy bad, and not only tactics un-American of these masked thugs jumping out and grabbing people, but ICE is screwing up over and over again. They don't need more agents. They certainly don't need more untrained actors as agents. Right here in Louisiana, I'll just give you two. Madonna Kashanian, she's a 64-year-old Iranian grandmother. She came here as a student. She did everything that Dean said. She was trying to get asylum. The U.S. kept kicking the can on that. She kept going to appointments. She's gardening outside her home, and she gets picked up by ICE. She was in detention for a week. Jose Francisco Garcia Rodriguez, 73-year-old grandfather. He emigrated on a U.S. boat from Cuba and tried to get asylum. Had a paperwork mistake. Arrested by ICE, held for a week. George Redis in California, 25 years old, worked as a security guard, U.S. citizen. ICE grabbed him, held him for 3 days. And this, we can argue about this. This doesn't even get into the Venezuelans that we sent to CECOT, many of whom didn't come to the country illegally. They came legally. They sought asylum. They came across the border. And rather than sending them back to Venezuela, ICE and Kristi Noem sent them to a torture prison in a third country that they weren't even from. So, ICE does not need more untrained agents right now. ICE needs to learn how to follow the law and treat people who have not committed crimes with respect and with the rights earned.
Okay, but
untrained.
Tim, it remains the case. Hang on, Dean. I'll come to you. The thing I would say, Tim, to that, as I said in the intro, it remains a fact that the level of deportation so far in this Trump term are about half of what they were in the Obama and Biden administrations.
You alluded to it. That's because this is kind of one of these things that's, statistics like lies, damn lies, and statistics. Part of the reason for that was, as you said, the border was open. We can critique it, probably too open during the Biden-Obama administrations. When they're counting the deportations, that's people that come to the border, come across the border, get sent right back across. So it's easy to run the numbers up when you're doing that. The border right now is shut down, as you guys mentioned. So what they're now doing is going to get people from inside the interior of the country. That's much more challenging. And so they're spending all this money to get new ICE agents. People who are former actors, apparently, are going to come in and start helping with this. And the problem when you go into the interior of the country to start finding people is if you're just trying to get a quota, Stephen Miller set quota, you're going to end up nabbing people like George Redis, who is actually a citizen, or like Jimena Arias Cristobal, who was pulled over incorrectly, that they got the wrong car, and you're going to screw up.
Now Piers Morgan jumps in with numbers. He says deportations under Donald Trump are lower than under Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Sounds big, right? Tim Miller pushes back, and he's right to. Obama's count included quick border turnarounds. That's not the same as what ICE is doing now. Right now, ICE is going inside communities, workplaces, homes, traffic stops. That's harder, and that's where mistakes happen. Tim Miller even mentions a U.S. citizen who got detained. A citizen? What? Dean Cain keeps repeating, they broke the law. Okay, Dean Cain, but what about when ICE gets it wrong? What about due process? Piers Morgan throws a stat, Tim Miller explains a difference, and Dean Cain ignores the risk. That's the gap.
And
but it sounds to me... Okay, but Tim,
it sounds
to me,
you cannot just do a quota and send people to Alligator Alcatraz and send them away. Like it's more challenging. It's a hard.
But it sounds okay. But it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that what critics would say of what you've just said is okay. So what is the difference in principle between somebody who comes over the southern border illegally and somebody who's come over a different way or perhaps earlier over the southern border but remains in the country illegally, notwithstanding the fact they may have built a life for themselves? If you're happy for people to be rejected immediately if they come over illegally, why would you be unhappy about them being held to account for being there illegally in a year, 2 years, 3 years?
Sure, because you have to have a border, you have to have rules and controlling the country, right? I get it, and so we are where we are. But I would just point out, Piers, that a lot of the people who are being deported, again, didn't come over illegally. We're not talking about people across the Rio Grande. We're talking about either children, DACA kids that got brought here by their parents. We're talking about people that overstayed visas. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have made a bunch of people illegal that weren't, because they came through asylum. Either Joe Biden or George Bush or Obama or even Trump actually himself in the first term gave people from a lot of countries, Venezuela, Cuba, etc., asylum, temporary protected status, Haiti. This was a big thing during the campaign. And so now they've taken away their status and they're like, self-deport or we'll deport you. So these people didn't come illegally. They came through a legal process, and now we've got ICE agents and apparently former Superman actors are going to jump out of vans and nab them and hold them in deportation cells. That's insane. Like, that's not how you act in a free country. So no, I do think in a lot of these cases it is different. Like, a lot of these situations are complicated.
All right.
And they've tried to come legally.
They are. There is no doubt it is complicated. Dean, over to you.
Tim, I don't understand why you have to go, a former untrained actor. I'm not untrained. I've been a sheriff's deputy for almost 10 years. I've been a sworn sheriff's deputy and a reserve police officer. So I don't know why you're saying untrained. And by the way, when you join ICE, they train you. So to say that and try to denigrate because I'm an actor, I shouldn't be able to be concerned about what's going on with our borders or with our law enforcement agencies is denigrating. It's ridiculous. Should I say because you're a former Republican strategist, you have no say on anything? That's baloney. So first of all, discounting that, making a cheap joke, just like John Oliver or Bill Maher or anybody else. Let me finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence, please. Let me finish my sentence, please. Denigrating somebody because they're doing this because of what they used to do or what they do, or whether they're an actor or a writer or a newscaster, is ridiculous. It's an ad hominem attack. It's wrong. And there's been over 100,000 people who have put in applications for ICE. So clearly there is a desire for people to step up and serve this country.
Dean, if you show up at someone's, you said on Fox that you'd be if they sent you in, you'd be happy to jump out of a truck and go apprehend people. So if you show up at the door of someone's home as an ICE agent, which you're an ICE agent now, do you know what rights they have?
I'm not an ICE agent yet.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so you are an untrained former actor. You are an untrained former actor.
I am a former actor. I'm a former professional football player too. So when I run down my resume, I mean, so it's stupid.
I'm just telling a fact.
Yeah,
you're an untrained actor.
You denigrate it as though it's something negative. You denigrate it like it's something negative. Like you know what you're saying. So quit trying to gloss over it. It's ridiculous. It was snarky and it was stupid.
I'm telling you why it's negative because you don't know the job. You don't know the job. That's why it's negative. It's nothing.
You don't know that I don't know the job. You're just assuming. Did you know I was a law enforcement officer?
I just asked you, do you know what migrants' rights are? If you show up to someone's house as an ICE agent, do you know what rights they have? Do you know?
They have all the due process rights of anybody in this country.
Okay. So do you need a warrant signed by a judge to apprehend somebody?
This is ridiculous. I'm not a sworn ICE agent yet.
You were saying you were happy to jump out of vans and start apprehending people. You were bragging about that.
I will. And then you made it, of course. And I would if that's what the director asked me to do.
Here's the moment that really sums it up. Tim Miller asks Dean Cain the simplest question. If you show up at someone's door as an ICE agent, do you know what rights they have? And Dean Cain admits, I'm not an ICE agent. Yet. Exactly. That's the problem. Dean Cain talks about being a sheriff's deputy, but that's not the question. Tim Miller isn't asking about your resume. He's asking if you know the law. Do you know about warrants? Do you know about due process? Do you even know what people's rights are? And Dean Cain had no answer. Tim Miller stays calm, keeps pressing, and exposes that Dean Cain is all talk. He brags on TV about hopping out of vans, but when it comes to the actual law, he's not prepared. That's why Tim Miller looked sharp here, and Dean Cain looked lost. And that's where I stand on this one. Tim Miller came out way stronger. Dean Cain dodged, got defensive, and couldn't back up what he said earlier. Even Piers Morgan sounded more solid than Dean Cain at times. What do you think? Was Tim Miller right to press him this hard? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.